Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. We respectfully acknowledge that we live and work in Mi'kmaq as the steward of the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We are all treaty people. Approval of the agenda and order of business. I don't have any changes that I'm aware of, but.
Nope.
Motion to approve.
Seconder? Seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Public input. This is kind of strange. I don't see anybody. Well, yeah, but he doesn't qualify. So I'm not going to bother reading all that because there's nobody here to listen to it. So, minutes of the previous meeting, January 15th, there was omissions.
I'll move they be approved.
Do you have a seconder? Seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Proclamations and designations. Request for decision prepared by Association Illumination. Request Corporate Strategic Management. Policy 103, flag raising, and email from this whatever the
Fibromyalgia.
Oh, yeah, okay. So what are we, is anybody going to speak to those, or what, or is there anything that we need to do?
This is just this is a request that we get every year, and so it's just there for consideration. If council wants to pass the motion to illuminate the municipal building to purple to acknowledge Fibromyalgia Awareness Day on May 12th, as requested.
Isn't purple autism?
I don't know.
There are several organizations that use similar colors.
How would they know?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I think they're going to be very confused. They may think it's autism.
I don't know.
Motion to approve number one.
Seconder? Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Now, we need a flag raising ceremony, or, yeah?
Nope.
Nope, don't need anything there? Done? Good.
You should be there when they turn on the lights.
Yes, sometimes I am and sometimes I'm not. That I can tell you. Okay. Chester Brass Band, Community Wheels, that's all later on in life. Bylaws, request decision, repeal policy P108, TOR for equity and diversity inclusion. Who's speaking to that one?
I can speak to this one real quick. At the last meeting, council gave notice to repeal policy P108. And so the recommended motion is to repeal policy 108, terms of reference for equity, diversity, and inclusion advisory committee. Sorry, it was at the December 4th policy and strategy session. We were given direction to move forward. And so this is the motion to repeal.
Somebody prepared to move it?
Also move that we repeal the motion 108.
Seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Marketing levy, second reading, and amendment to change the effective date from January 1st to January 1st, 2027.
Yeah, so council had a report from staff regarding the marketing. Oh, Brian is here. He can come and speak to it, I think.
Okay, you.
There we go.
I was trying to sneak in the back. It's delayed
Oh,
over there.
Brian, just before he gets started, when you meet with that guy, can you find out what civic address they have rented or have a lease on?
For sure.
Because not all of it's been sold apparently, so
yeah.
it might be helpful if we knew that.
Okay, perfect. We're on the second reading for the marketing bylaw. This has come up a few times. It was brought for first reading back in, I believe, the end of November or early December. It was a little bit delayed getting advertised, which is why it's taken a bit to get it back here with the holidays happening. But this is simply an amendment to the bylaw to delay the implementation to January 2027 instead of January 2026.
Any questions, people? No. Somebody want to move that we do that? So moved. Clarissa? Tom, you seconded it, yeah? Okay. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, deer management options. That should be fun. Send them back out to the woods around my camp so I can actually shoot one.
All right, good morning, council. So the purpose of this report is basically to let you know that we haven't forgotten about this topic and basically just to provide some background information. And so one of the suggestions in the report is that you don't actually make any decisions today, that we wait until we have the opportunity to bring in staff from DNR who have the expertise on deer management to be able to provide you with some expert advice and not just information through myself.
Why don't they go do something about it instead of?
There you go. So just by way of a little bit of background, so this is, I believe, first brought to council by Councillor Bremner, and some concerns that are being expressed by residents around the number of deer in the village proper area. And so the concerns essentially are around three main areas, and that's accidents, so the potential of vehicular accidents with deer within the village area. Property damage, so we know that deer can do a serious amount of damage to trees and gardens and shrubs and all those types of things. And as well, the disease that deer are known to carry, in particular Lyme would be the main one that we're all very familiar with. So those are the three main areas of concern that get raised when we have high population of deer in more kind of urban, higher population centers.
Oh,
So-
Andre? Oh, sorry, Andre.
Oh, I just wanted to, because the report repeatedly mentions the village, and I would just want to make it clear that this is not strictly a village issue. It's a municipal issue, and I think that most of the hamlet areas in our municipality are confronted with the same issue, so. I want to make that correction to the report.
They're certainly all around the basin.
Yeah, I think, yeah, as it
Morris
was,
Point.
yeah, as it was brought up initially, I think it was, the concern was within the village, but absolutely, the increase or higher deer population are being experienced in various areas of the municipality. That'd be absolutely true. So, in terms of information that was received from DNR, there's kind of a list on page number 2 of things that can be done to try and deal with this issue. So the first one really deals with the damage control. So on those issues that are brought up by deer, there are things that people can do to try and prevent that. You know, things such as fencing and tree shelters. You know, diversionary food, wildlife feeding bylaws, all those kind of things are things that we can do to try and mitigate the impact of deer on the community. And then the second approach is damage mitigation, where you're actually trying to make an impact on the deer population itself. And of course, there's some options that are put in there from hunting, regulated hunting, through to fertility control. And I think from the reading that I've done and the information that was kind of provided through DNR is that this isn't like a one-time quick, easy fix. Whatever management plan is put into place, it's basically a multi-year plan that needs to be acted upon in a consistent manner to try and have any real impact.
Just explain the fertility control part too.
Yeah, so that would be DNR staff that would explain that, but essentially they have, there's an option where they can dart deers and prevent the deer from reproducing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I don't know all the details of how that works, but,
Vasectomies for deer.
Sterilization.
essentially, yeah.
Give them
Yeah.
condoms.
So that's the background information. So again, the DNR staff have been working with other communities. So this is not unique to Chester. Anyone that has been listening to the news in recent years knows that communities such as Truro and Yarmouth have had significant issues, probably even greater than what we're experiencing here. And so they have been working to do what they can do to control those issues in those communities, and obviously with the support of provincial DNR staff. So I think that it's good for us to learn from those folks, and again to speak with those experts. So this is just a little bit of background information to let you know that we have been speaking with staff, and they are interested in coming into a council meeting to discuss
bring
with
them on
you
in.
a little bit later in the winter or early spring. And as well, they would bring with them, information around what's happening at other areas of the province, and that's another option as well for us to reach out directly to some of those other communities and see what management plans that they're putting in place that we can maybe learn from and adopt some best practices in those communities.
Tom?
So just open up the floor to any comments or questions.
Oh,
Thank you, Warden Weber, through you to the presenter. Still getting lots of calls about this topic, which I think is going to stay that way. I have been following the Truro situation where they did calling. Don't seem to be a whole lot of reduction according to their people in their community, and St. Stephen, New Brunswick has been dealing with it with other ways. And I have not had anyone tell me they're looking for a call personally. They're looking for people, well, first of all, people stop feeding the deers. You know, if we stop feeding the deer, they will know that they can't get food as easily as they have been. If I told you some of the stories that have been shared to me, everyone would laugh because people just decide they need to feed them, and that's not what is a healthy thing for them, and it's not a good thing for our community either. There's still lots of deer around. I travel this community twice, 3 times a day, and I see lots of deer everywhere. And they seem to be having more young ones than they ever had before. Sometimes, you know, it was mostly singles, but now I've seen 2 and 3 young ones with a mother. So they're definitely populating this. We need to work with our community. But again, I haven't had no one tell me that they want to call them. They need to have, we need to educate people, and people need to take their responsibility. You know, fencing, I have lots of people that say it costs lots, but if you want to have a nice garden, you're going to have to take some
well, look
prevention.
what they did out here.
Yeah, that's right. We had, our community group had to put an amazing fence up. It wasn't cheap. And again, stop feeding the darn deer, because that's part what draws them to the areas that you.
Yeah, if people didn't feed them, it would help.
It would definitely help, and we used to let dogs run, we don't anymore, so they don't get chased around, and if they're chased out, they come back, because the coyotes and the four-wheelers and other things chase them back in. So again, I appreciate this opportunity, I look forward to dealing with DNR and helping out our communities. And Councillor Vino is right, this is not a village issue, this is a municipality one. Thank you.
Sharon?
Thank you.
I think it could be very expensive if we decide to take this on. It definitely is the responsibility of DNR. And one thing that would help is maybe they change the number of deer that are allowed to be harvested, or they could, you know, spread the season out, that it starts earlier or later. And certainly, you know, people need to stop feeding the deer. I think we can educate people and ask people not to do that, because that is definitely, I know, what some people are doing. And not just in the village, in other areas as well. And, you know, certainly, this winter may help a bit, because the more snow that we get, it's harder on the deer. So there is mortality, unfortunately, but that's the way nature is. But I think we have to be careful about taking this on, other than, you know, to me, educate the public on what they can do to help prevent the problem.
Yeah, and I believe that the province would have some education materials, and we can help share that information. I know we did that a little bit this fall, where there were a lot of black bear sightings in the area, and so we get some information through provincial DNR and share it through our social media outlets, just to help educate people on similar things, you know, making sure that your green bin is tied shut and all those kind of things. So there is some crossover. So I know we've talked a lot about the feeding of the deer, and so there is options. There are some communities that have come up with wildlife feeding bylaws.
Maybe you could take a look and see what they have.
Yeah.
Just for information.
Yeah, and I know that is one of the suggestions through the information that I got from DNR, was the municipality can create wildlife feeding bylaws if they wish to help. To help with the education piece, and obviously the challenging part of that becomes the enforcement. But it is you know, if nothing else, it would, you know, send a message through that people shouldn't be feeding wildlife, including
Well, that's
deer.
the easy part.
Yeah, and I know that, to Sharon's other point, so I know that DNR did make some changes this past year where they reduced the age for when people
Yeah,
can
they
hunt,
did,
and they added additional, I think, Sundays on weekends to kind of expand the season a little bit. So I think there's some of those things have been done. So again, I'm not sure if there's any plans for further changes to the
Increasing the
deer
numbers,
hunting
yeah.
season, but again, that would be a great question for DNR or staff.
Okay, bring them on in. So, trails, community development, recreation.
So I'm just gonna stay in this seat.
Yeah,
So
that's what I figured.
I handed around some stickers this morning that are We Share Trail stickers, and that was intentional that I did that. It's not just a little freebie. We Share Trails is an initiative from Nova Scotia Trails that is being done provincially wide, and essentially it's a trails etiquette campaign to try and spread the word that all trail users, especially on multi-use trails, need to be respectful of all other users. And so that We Share Trails, we've been kind of sharing that message through the municipality as well. And so I think that message of We Share Trails extends to this room and us making decisions on our trail. And so we know that it is a multi-use trail, and we have several different user groups. The most common ones are off-highway vehicles, our walkers, pedestrians, and our cyclists.
Yeah.
And so when we're making decisions about our trail and the management of our trail, we need to be respectful and thoughtful of all those users. So that's the purpose of the sticker this morning. So just jumping off of that, back in November when we had our meeting at Forest Heights, we had a presentation by the Shore Riders ATV Club. So we had Nancy Wenzel and Steve Patterson came in and made a really great presentation, kind of advocating on behalf of the ATV community. And so essentially their request, if you all recall, was for the municipality to remove all of our gates on our trail to make it easier and more user-friendly for the ATV community. So as part of the report, I gave a little bit of the background. I'm not going to go through all of it, but just how we've progressed from the kind of early 2000s when the trail first opened, and we used to use a bollard system, and the width of the trail at that time was kind of around that 60 inches. And there's a photo. We see a much younger Warden Weber in the background there. From 2002, that was our trail opening, and there's an ATV in the background as part of the grand opening of the trail, and that was kind of the common vehicle at the time. And then by about 2007, we really started to see the side-by-sides come in and become much more popular. And at that time, we had switched over to our gate system, if everyone recalls, and that made it much more, that was more of a management issue for ourselves. It was easier to lock and unlock the gates and easier to pass through them. And so that had been working very well. And then since that time, we've had a couple of different pieces of correspondence that have come through from the province, because if everyone recalls that, so we operate and manage the trail, but we do not own the trail. It continues to be owned by the province, so it's Crown land, and so we have a letter of authority. And so the province still has the ability to dictate some of the ways in which we manage the trail. And one of those things is the gate widths. And so back in January 18th, we had received some correspondence, and at that time, the suggestion was that the maximum size machines on the trail should be 60 inches, and that all the gates should be set at 66 inches to allow for passage of those machines. And then that changed again in April of 2024, most recently, where we had updated correspondence that came through, and that correspondence is attached to your package. And so, so the current rules are that only machines 66 inches and less are permitted on our rail trail. And so I know that's a message that is sometimes hard to get out there. So if you go to any dealership to buy a side-by-side machine, they're not actively going to tell you don't buy a big expensive machine, that there are restrictions on where you can and cannot use that machine. So anyway, so the maximum size machine right now on our rail trail is 66 inches, and we've been requested to set all of our gate widths at 74 inches. And so so we got that correspondence in April, and then we made those changes in the just this past spring of 2025, and we set all of our gate widths at 74 to 78 inches. And so as part of the presentation, so one of the downfalls is that when the ATV club came in, they had let us know that they had been out and measured all of our gate widths, and they were finding a high number of our gates that weren't at that minimum width. So that is an issue that we need to deal with, and I'll get into that here in just a few moments. So a couple of, just another important background pieces, I think the rationale for why we have gates on our trail to start with, so they've been there from the day one
cars
when
from
we
going in.
started open, and that is the main one, to keep cars off, so to control the access. So essentially, because we've had these restrictions from the province, is that we've been abiding by those rules and trying to set up our gates so that we're only allowing vehicles of certain size to be on the trail, and of course, those need to be registered off-highway vehicles. So anything registered for the road is not permitted on the trail, and that includes, we get the question every once in a while around those kind of street dirt bikes. Those are registered for the road, so those are not permitted on the trail. So anything registered for the road is not allowed on the trail. The other reason gates and bollards were installed was for traffic calming. So when you get to an intersection, if you come to a gate or a bollard, you're required to slow down
least
to
you
pass
know,
through,
yeah.
and then you know that there's potentially traffic, whether that's a driveway or a private road or a main road, so that kind of slows traffic down when they approach those intersections. And accident prevention, obviously, at any of those intersections, we're trying to do our best to mitigate any accidents that happen on the trail, and there's a higher potential at any of those intersections for that to happen. So on the flip side, and some of this, I think Nancy and Steve, when they made their presentation, they did an excellent job at kind of presenting the perspective of the ATV user and what they're experiencing on the trail. And I know they talked a lot about ATV tourism and how that's kind of booming in other provinces and actually other areas of our province. And so the reasons to consider opening the gates would be just some of the ones that we mentioned there. So the easier, more enjoyable ride. So as opposed to when you come up to the gates and having to really slow down and be careful, especially if you have an expensive machine, you don't want to scratch it and scuff the rims and all those kind of things. So that is a concern from the ATV community. Having consistent width, so again, if you're approaching a gate, you want to know that your machine can fit through, and if you fit through one, you get to the next one and it's more narrow, then that's a challenge for the rider. And as well, the damage that I mentioned, so potentially if we have some of our barriers that are narrow for one reason or another, then there is potential for that damage to the machines. And lastly, less maintenance. So this is so I don't think this is necessarily significant, but it is absolutely true, and you can see it for yourself when you go out and our user on the trail, that at the gates there is braking and accelerating that happens right at the gate. So you have to slow down at the gate and then you accelerate out of the gate, and so that does cause additional wear and tear of the trail and more maintenance at those specific areas. So those are just a few of the reasons why council may consider opening the gates. So,
So if we remove them completely, then anybody, you can drive cars down.
that's correct. Yeah. So there's pros and cons, and so I've kind of gone through 3 different options for council to consider. So one being the status quo, and I've kind of listed the pros and cons there. So obviously, opening the gates or removing the gates does open it up and would potentially allow vehicles for the road or larger vehicles wider than that 66 inches to get on the trail. So there is another note in here that I have spoken with a few other provincial staff that work at trails, and their sentiment to me was that they don't see that a lot. So it is definitely raised as a concern, and the potential is absolutely there, but in some other areas they haven't seen that people tend to be mostly respectful. They know why the trails are there, and so they tend not to drive their vehicles on the trail. But we do know, even on our own trail, in the past number of years, we have seen it. Anytime that a lock gets broken or gets left open for some reason, we have had vehicles on our trail. So it does happen. So there's one of the considerations for you as part of this decision making. So if council were to choose option 1, status quo, one of the things I would have to say would happen, this has to happen regardless of whatever decision you make, is that all of our gates need to be rechecked and reset, and all of the rocks and gates need to make sure that they're at minimum at that 74 inches. And there may be some suggestion from council, maybe we go a little bit wider than that, maybe it's a little bit more than the minimum. It is a minimum, so we can go wider if we choose to. So it's finding that balance in there, right?
If we went to 80 inches, would cars be able to get it? Well, some of the cars are smaller than the damn machine.
Right. So you have very, very small vehicles that are, I think probably the first one that comes to mind is smart cars. So there's not a lot of them on the road, but they're very, very small, and they would be of similar size to a large side by side. So you are getting, and that has been the challenge over the years is making those adjustments. So in the photo that I showed you with Alan in it and the ATVs were narrow at that time.
yeah,
And
there was
they've
a little-
progressively gotten larger, and so that's why we're here today is because of that change. So the second option that I presented for you would be to potentially try a pilot project. So if your concern is, I'm not sure if this is gonna work or not, but you'd like to try it out for a certain period of time, maybe a year period, we could open all the gates and not remove them, but open them and lock them in the open position and go through in all the areas where, because we do have some areas where it's just rocks and no gates. So in those areas, we would have to widen. And so we could do it for a period of time, try it out, see how it works, try and evaluate, and then make a decision at that point in time. I've given a few pros and cons in there for that. The third option, which some trail groups around the province have chosen, and that is to be selective in the areas where you put gates. So it could be remove the gates in some areas and leave them in others, and in particular, we could come up with some criteria of where that may be. So if we know there's areas where there are prone to potentially have incidents of people driving on the trail, or maybe it's areas where there is a high concentration of road crossings, maybe we use them there. I don't know, we could come up with something, but that would be kind of a third option for you to consider. And again, I guess, of course, the last one is just go ahead and remove all the gates as requested. So there's a lot of information here. This isn't a light decision, and it is one that we do know that there will be concerns, either or. You know, if you do status quo, I think we can make it work, but the ATV community wouldn't be 100% satisfied, obviously. I can guarantee that if we do go ahead, that you will hear concerns from adjacent property owners and some of the other trail users, walkers, cyclists, that if the gates are open, and those concerns of those, you know, those higher rates of speed and the potential interactions at road crossings. So it's very much a balance, and so back to my original point of, you know, making decisions based on all users. This is a very tough one.
Which one's first?
So we have a history, but we have a request from the ATV community, and so now council has some discussion and decision to make.
Sharon?
Thank you. I would like to see the barriers remain in place. I know that certainly in my area, Marriott's Cove, they would be quite upset if they were removed. I know that the speed of the drivers probably would increase, and the one thing with the barriers, it gives you an indication that you're coming up to an intersection that you need to slow down, that you're crossing a road. So I think it's a safety issue that just to remove them. Yes, they're all very responsible drivers, but those barriers indicate that it's an intersection, a crossing, and I think they need to remain in place. I agree with if you need to widen them to comply, but I certainly wouldn't want to remove them for that reason at this point.
Thanks,
I'd
Sharon.
have to be really convinced that we should remove them, and I'm not at this point.
Okay, Abdallah?
Chad, I'm just wondering about if you take a lot, like if you open the gate and leave them open, so any width can go through that? I'm just trying to visualize the gate in my head.
Yes.
I don't know if there's a,
So,
yeah,
there's a photo on page number 2 that's a sample of what our gates look like. It's up
oh,
on the-
there you
up on the
go,
screen
okay,
there.
yes.
So the
I
way-
see, so I was thinking the gate was a sort of in the middle, now now I see it, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just visualizing it.
So the way
yes.
that's set up, so if we open the gates, they essentially would swing out towards the ditch, and we would put the lock back on it and lock it in that open position. And then, so that is what we do, like when we have our maintenance vehicle. So if we need to take, for example, our standard pickup truck will fit through that when the gate is open. And so we do that when we go on the trail to do maintenance.
So, like, if you open that gate, like, was that part of the pilot project that you were talking about in the option? Do a pilot project and have the gates open all the time, correct?
That was one of the options
One
that
of the
were
options.
suggested. that
Okay,
we could
thank
consider.
you.
And I guess the other thing, just because the picture is up on the screen, this is one of the challenges that you'll see here is, from the ATV community, some of the concerns that we've got is it depends on, if you look at the measurements, if you look at that gate set up right there, the rocks aren't perfectly straight. And so depending on where you do your 74-inch measurements from, it's obviously in on the bottom and out a little bit on the top, and so the measurement has to happen from the point that it's the furthest out, right? And so I know that just comes up as a topic of conversation.
And then a couple inches makes a difference for scratching your wheels, obviously.
It can, absolutely.
Tina?
Thank you. So Chad, you mentioned that there were times when some of our gates were left open for reasons, and we've had vehicles on our, or highway vehicles on our trails. So what was the result of, like, what came out of that? What did we do about that?
Yeah, so there's only one instance that I can think of, and it was actually down in the East River area, and there was a gate was open for maintenance reasons, and so a person got through, and so the only thing we can do is follow up with our enforcement, and through the province, through enforcement staff, as we would reach out to them, make them aware, and then we pass that information along to them in hopes that we can have fines issued through them.
Thank you.
So that's the follow-up.
Thank you for that. So for me, where I'm landing right now is whatever decision we make, I think it should be consistent in terms of, I'm not sure how we would pick and choose gates. I mean, based on the presentation and the interest that we had from members of our community, if you will, back on November 27th. And I have to think that if they would have known about this presentation, they could have filled our seats. And I know where we would have landed, because we've done it in the past when people turn out, right? But consistent, I think, because I'm not sure how we would make that decision. Also, too, is this a situation where we're not doing something because a few people may ruin it for others? And I don't want to say the greater good, because that's wrong, but is it a few people that are ruining it, or potentially ruining it, for the majority of who would be respectful? I don't know that.
Yeah,
I don't know that.
And that is a conversation that happens quite often, especially with the ATV community, is that if we had, if every ATV driver was like Nancy and Steve, we wouldn't be having this conversation at all. Everything would be fine. But that's, in reality, that's not what happens. And so
I
we
get
do
it.
get into that situation of a few bad apples. And so it's a tough time trying not to make decisions based on those few bad apples.
Yeah,
However, that is reality as well.
I get that, yeah, absolutely, and that's the way, the world in which we live, I think, for a lot of reasons, for a lot of situations. But I also think that there could be a lot of self-policing happening. Like, I know that on the community trails in New Ross, if there's something bad happens, if there's an incident of somebody not being respectful, conversations are had, if you will. And first, we would reach out to the community policing officer with RCMP, and we had that meeting, and Jody was in at the time, and the meeting was there in New Ross. So again, just being proactive and being not reactive but proactive, but yet we do have to be reactive when there's one incident, because we want to, nip that in the bud if we can. But again, who am I to say about self-policing? But I think that would be a lot of what we might see with some of the clubs and the organizations. I think that where I'm landing now is, again, I know it's a discussion around the entire table here, but the option around a pilot of opening them up and seeing if it all just goes to heck, right? I'm not adverse to that, opening them up and seeing what problems we experience, because maybe we're assuming that those few bad apples are gonna have some fun, right? But that's just where I'm going right now.
Andre?
A lot of engaging debate about these gates. I'll move that we open up our gates to the required or the specified 74 inches and make it uniform across all of our trails that we control.
Do we have a seconder?
So can I just clarify that
Yeah.
motion? Sorry.
Right, please.
So, are you saying open, if the
No,
gates are open, then
No,
they're,
we're going to make it, we're gonna
Make
move the
sure they're all
rocks,
74
so that they're
inches.
74 inches.
so status quo? So
No, status quo is, it's not in compliance with the standard. Make them in compliant with the standard. and
74
Let's
inches.
stop talking about this.
Yeah, okay, so.
That's the
yeah.
motion.
Yeah, so in the, yes, so I appreciate that, just wanted to make sure that was clear, because that was in the option one, that was the status quo, was keep the gates closed, but go out and ensure that they're meeting
And
that
make
minimum
sure
standard.
they're all
Yeah.
suitable, yeah.
Yeah, and they're
So
all
we
that-
have a mover, did I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Yeah, and now, can I, and if we're in discussion, I'll follow up. Do we actually have a written policy that council has put forth for how we maintain the entrances to these trail systems?
No, there's no.
So this is really operational?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't see any reason why we're even talking about it here today.
Okay. Tom?
Thank you, Warden Weber, to you, to the presenter. First of all, I am not an owner of an off-road vehicle, so I don't have that pleasure, but I have many friends that do, and I have lots of friends that walk the trail daily
Yeah.
and have expressed their concerns, so I need to share some of those. We have to remember, there are some economical benefits that come from our trails, because I've just heard on, and Councillor Asa maybe knows more about, there's a breakfast in Western Shore, and there's a trail ride on Saturday, and that brings money in our area. These are gonna become highways, like the highways are gonna become highways to us, because there's gonna be more use and more use and more use. I wanna also compliment staff, because I get a lot of reports how good of conditions our trails are in, and how they're maintained, and how they're being serviced, and I think that's a compliment to everyone. Correct me if I'm wrong, the province makes you license every unit that you have, and you have to have insurance. They're collecting money from that. They should be putting, they need to deal with this a little more professionally and respectfully, because the enforcement issue is the huge thing. We want safe trails. I want my friends that walk every day not to feel like they're gonna get run over by a vehicle or fast-moving whatever. So they have to come up with that. I know that signage is noted, badly needed in spots, and I think that's part of what Councillor Vino was talking about, opening them up, but also keep them where there is a manageable process that makes kind of a win-win. We don't lose everything, but we need to make sure we keep moving forward in the idea of the safety signage, the reality of it, keeping communicated, because it's a very growing thing, and it's very popular, and it's important to our municipality, right from one end to the other. There's trails everywhere. So what we can manage and we can work with, there's my thoughts. I think it's important. Don't want to see them just a free-for-all, but I want to see them used openly and respectfully and understood. And when there's an issue, I like what Councillor Conner said, people need to address it and move with us to help us out to make sure we understand that. Because Lord knows, it's danger everywhere, and we need to be safe. So, thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion? Tina?
Well, it's not necessarily on the motion, but it's
Well,
to Councillor Bremner's
I
comments.
know, but I gotta try to keep it.
I'll wait till after the motion.
So, can you repeat the motion so that I'm clear on it?
To leave it at 74 inches, and
Yeah,
make
so
sure
keep-
they all are 74 inches.
And keep the gate closed?
Correct.
Keep the gate closed? Is that what
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maintain 74 inches minimum per the standard with the gate closed.
Okay, they
Yeah. But I will follow up again that I feel like this is operational. We don't have a policy on these gates. I don't see why this decision has come to council, because frankly, unless we're gonna create policy here today, I think it's well within staff's purview to make this decision on their own, unless you want to create policy, and we're talking about a policy.
Yeah. So-
Anyway, yeah,
I don't know if that message is being received.
No, it is received. It is on
So
this
do you want
agenda
to
because
create
we
a
had.
policy around trail width?
No, we had direction to bring a report back
Yes.
to staff,
That's
or
why.
back
so it
from
was a
staff to
direction of
council. It was
a
direction.
of council
Okay,
for them
well,
to do it.
That's
we
why
shouldn't have
I'm-
done that. This is operational.
Anyway, sorry, Tina. Okay,
So I do want to speak to the motion
yeah,
because I
it's
wasn't.
going all over the place.
I wasn't clear, and I'm here listening, but I guess I wasn't. I didn't understand it to be that we would do the 74, but keep the gates shut. I'm gonna vote against that motion because I'm interested in exploring the pilot suggestion around, opening it up and seeing if we have any, where we land. That's the motion that I'm gonna be supporting after this one, so I'm gonna be voting against it, if there's a chance, because this motion may pass.
You have a comment?
Do we need a trails policy now that we should create?
Council can make decisions without policy. Sam?
Yeah, and this may not be relevant if this motion passes, but my concern is that if we had no rules, everything was gone, we might be perceived as increasing the liability, the risk of users of the trail. And if we go beyond what the province has mandated. So I would think before we do that, we want to check with our insurer. Because we have insurance, and if we change the fundamental rule that we've been following for 20-plus years, they may want to wade in, because
The risk goes up.
I think the risk, I think we could debate that, but I think my use of the trail, I think the risk does go up if there's no restriction, either from cars getting on the trail or just vehicles, bicycles, ATVs, whatever, not slowing down at private roads and stuff like that. I mean, so.
It's on the motion, hopefully?
Motion. I think, in light of what Sam just said, I think we should probably defer till we find out, because that'll make a big difference in my decision, whether it's an insurance policy or not.
So I think what Sam said is if council makes a change.
If we changed
beyond
it,
what
if we
we've been
leave it
currently
alone,
doing.
it doesn't have any effect.
Yeah, if we
I
leave,
understand.
so the current direction, the current motion,
Is to
we
leave
would
it
not
alone.
need to go to the insurer.
Okay, well, that's, I guess was my question. That would, so, okay, I know where I'm voting,
Yeah, I
okay.
think if we're following the provincial minimum, I think we should be okay. But I think if we don't.
Change
do
it, then we,
change-
yeah. Tina?
Thank you. So I get it if we've had something in place and we change it. But the question around insurance and liability, I'm not saying we don't check, because that's dumb, but that doesn't scare me away, because there are trails in this province that you had said are open. So there are other existing trails, other examples, other models of how it can work with an open trail. And also, we are one of the few areas with a trail that has that's municipally led, if you will, I guess. We don't own it, but mostly, I would think in the province of Nova Scotia, it's nonprofit organizations. And so they would be faced with, because I know to my left and north and west, it's all community organizations. It's not municipally led. So they're coming up with the insurance somehow. So it's not prohibitive. I get what of course, our municipal solicitor is advising, and I appreciate that. So we can't just jump in. You got to get insurance and check it out. But that doesn't scare me away, so.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay. Rezoning 10.3.
You're all so excited. Okay, so staff received an application to rezone a property Lot 2, Highway 3, followed by a development agreement by Upland Planning and Design Studio on behalf of the property owner. So the request is for council to consider rezoning the property and entering into development agreement to permit the development of 2 commercial units with a size of 3150 meters squared. So the current zone that they're in is the SR2 zone that allows for commercial uses with a total gross floor area up to 200 meters squared by site plan and nothing larger. So the property that they are requesting to rezone to the mixed use zone, that permits commercial developments with that total gross floor area greater than 2,000 meters squared by a development agreement. So the property is located just between Mill Lake Road 1 and Highway 3, so it sort of corners it. You can see it in the map there. The surrounding uses include some small commercial uses, some single unit residential uses. You've got 10 beaches development beside it, and some vacant land. So the property is 4.3 acres in size, and right now it's completely untouched, mature vegetation. So the site plan that's way further in the document, you can bring it up if you want, it's at the end of the DA. So that outlines the structural locations and sizes, the landscape elements, access points, parking areas. The proposal includes those 2 structures that I mentioned, one to be used as a gas station and convenience store, and the second for future retail development. They have not identified what might go in those stores, and they don't have to at this point, just that there will be some commercial uses in there. There's also the gas pumps and the canopy to cover that. There's a loading zone proposed on the backside off of Mill Lake Road 1. That would be for just employee access and deliveries for the retail spaces. And then you've got the second access there off of Highway 3. Got some visitors. So any undeveloped areas on the property will maintain its natural look as noted in the application. And that's just ensuring that vegetated screening is along those property boundaries. There is a water course that buffers the property on the eastern boundary. That's not on the property, but it's identified on the site plan that they will follow the policy and ensure that 20-meter setback from structures.
Okay, I did hear something.
So I've done an analysis for the rezone and for the development agreement. I'll just touch on a couple spots in it. We don't have to go in detail. You've seen it all. It's a long document. But like I said, the proposed zone is for the mixed-use zone. There are no requirements to change or amend the municipal planning strategy in this sense because both the current zone and the proposed zone are within the settlement character community area. So when evaluating that rezone, we look at things like considering potential developments and uses that might be permitted in the new zone. They're rather similar, other than that, why we're doing the development agreement. We look at things like the location and area of the dimensions of the subject property. We look at the compatibility of the proposed land uses and the development with the surrounding properties, and then things like compatibility with the lands using results of lighting, signage, outdoor displays, and all that kind of stuff. So the lot sizes around the property are rather similar. There is a vacant lot that's just under 11 acres. We've got some single unit dwellings that are near that are between half an acre and 2 acres, so size is pretty similar. Things like lighting and signage, traffic, that could have possible effects on neighboring properties. I mean, you are putting a development in that area, but development agreements provide room for negotiation, and that's sort of where we land on that. I'll just pass through that because it's all satisfied there. So when we can look at the site plan, but we don't necessarily have to, but both that plan and the stormwater management plan show the proposed access for the properties. The applicant has had some informal conversations with the province, but no formal approval has been provided for them. You've probably seen in other projects, it takes a rather long time to get through those processes, can be years per se, but they've definitely had conversations when designing the site plan. So they've got those two proposed access. The primary access for the retail space and the gas station are on Highway 3, and then that secondary access point would be on Mill Lake Road 1 for that loading area, and that wouldn't connect to the remainder of the parking area as required or requested, I suppose, by the province during those conversations. The applicant also conducted a traffic impact study that they also submitted to the province when chatting about their proposal. There is language in the draft development agreement to provide flexibility on location of access and ditching, and that would be dependent on their provincial approval at the time when they get their development permits, assuming that this proceeds. The next big long table is evaluating the development agreement and the process. So the applicants, they have to provide us with a bunch of plans and documents. So they submitted a grading and stormwater management plan. That includes your pre and post storm calculations. Our municipal public works staff reviewed that and didn't identify any major concerns. So they also submitted some elevation drawings. The initial ones in the application, which we took to our public information meeting with the applicant, community members weren't in favor of it. They felt it, I think they actually used the word jail-like. So it looked a little institutional, you know, like your usual commercial structure. So the applicant took that feedback back to the drawing boards and submitted a second rendering of the buildings, which, you know, speak a little more to the character, and the facade is a little more inviting. Their intentions are to do on-site wastewater. Again, language in the development agreement that they would need their Nova Scotia environment approval prior to receiving that development permit. They also conducted a level 1 groundwater assessment, which alludes to the property having enough water to service the proposed development. I spoke to the building, let's see here. So one of the policies here, A27, speaks to maintaining a vegetated setback between all main structures and the water courses. So I had identified that water course along the eastern property boundary on the other property. Policy requires a 20-meter buffer from that property, and then we also have some language that requires or provides a little flexibility, I guess, that at least 75% of that linear water body frontage has to retain the vegetated buffer. So it came up with our municipal planning advisory committee that the driveway and a little bit of the parking area are actually infringing in that 20-meter buffer. But when reviewing the policy, we've realized that that sort of 25 maximum percent allows for that driveway to sort of impede in that vegetated buffer. The applicant also sort of noted that that having the driveway there could potentially be less disruption to the buffer, as it is designed fully with controlled water, stormwater management, rather than just leaving it. It should also be noted that with talks with the province and the applicant, that proposed driveway location is essentially the only location for it to be. It has to be a certain distance from any intersection. And I mean, they're bordered by 2 roads, so that was as close and as far away from the property line as they would allow. Talk about the traffic impact study, the elevation drawings. Perfect, they meet all the statements. Okay, so overall, after my 4 pages of policy analysis, the proposal essentially is satisfied by all those policies after checking out the setbacks for the vegetated buffer. There are a couple of non-substantive changes to the development agreement. Those are a usual clause in development agreements. That's where council can approve any minor changes to the existing agreement. Essentially, those are just alterations to that stormwater management plan and the site plan, just from provincial comment if they have to alter anything. And then we've also got that maximum 12-month extension to either construction timeframes. A big reason the applicant is requesting the 12 months is due to that provincial approval process. It takes a rather long time to go back and forth. So we had that public information meeting in April. We had a whopping 80 people come, which was a great turnout for a public information meeting. Sometimes we have 0. So we went over the process. The applicant was there to speak to the project, and then it was opened up to residents to speak. So most of the concerns or comments were questions about the planning process and timeline for the project. When will it be there? How long does it take? When's the public hearing? When can we speak? Like I had mentioned, the overall look and feel of the proposed structures they weren't really in favor of, but the applicant came back with those revised plans. Some comments about the want versus need for multiple gas stations in the area. Currently there's one, and then this one, and maybe some others. And then many questions about what the commercial units will be used for, the look of the proposed structure, and some questions for the applicant as why they'd like to do the development, and then some concerns on the traffic congestion and access. So in November, we took it to the Planning Advisory Committee. Major concerns were surrounding that 20-meter vegetated buffer that I just went through, and then also ensuring that the development agreement is contingent on the rezoning process. So you can see the committee's motion there, essentially saying that if the rezoning motion is approved, then also the development agreement, but they wouldn't want just the rezoning to move forward. And then one last note, in the Municipal Government Act, there's some language that allows council to proceed with land use bylaw amendments, which would be the rezone, followed by development agreement in concurrence at a public hearing, and then also approving them, so you can essentially do that in one motion. That's all for me. You've got your options there. I see they're labeled 2, 3, and 4, and 5. I'm not sure what happened there. I'll take that. So option 3, there would be the one from the committee, from PAC. And then you've got 2, 4, and 5.
Okay, so your recommendation is that we rezone the property to mixed-use zone, consider entering into the development agreement?
And schedule a public hearing.
Yeah, going to a public hearing. Now, just before we go anywhere, I mean, just because, we also do have a petition, which is 11.3, but I think it needs to be dealt with at the same time, just because what's the point of it if we don't, you know? So, you know, and whatever, it is what it is, but I'm just saying that we have it there, and I think everybody's seen it, and whether or not it's relevant or not relevant, and in my understanding, it doesn't quite meet our requirements, but nevertheless, it is, people signed it. And I don't have to mention that I think everybody got a couple of emails last night, whatever. Now, mind you, they all have the ability to speak at the public hearing and make their decision, so I just wanted to make sure that we all, yeah, that we didn't just not even mention it, so. Councillor Connors.
Thank you. Only because you mentioned 11.3A, the petition, or, yeah, 11.3 and 11.3A. I just want to speak to that in terms of the petition itself. I think that we've received this, and it's important, so I'm recognizing it as a petition, and I'm only one person, so I'm absolutely embracing this and recognizing it. But the reason I brought that up at the meeting previous, when we had it in the agenda, was because I do like to color within the lines when I can. And for me, going forward, this needs to be tightened up, needs to be,
Better.
yes, thank you. So I don't need to talk anymore because you're nodding your heads, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so what do we want to do, people? Clarissa, you have an opinion, or? Oh, sorry, I didn't know.
I'd just like to ask Emily, so the process is, if we pass a motion to approve a change, so then it goes to a public hearing?
We're not approving the change, we're just going to the public hearing.
Yeah,
That's right,
yeah,
first
okay,
reading.
and I just, so I guess in terms of how long it's gonna take him to put shovels in the ground, based on this process, can you give me some sort of a timeline?
Yeah, so assuming that a motion is positively done here today, we could have a public hearing as soon as the 25th. After that, there's a 2-week appeal period where an ad has to go in the paper, so let's say that's 3 weeks. And then they have to come apply for their development permits and their building permits.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Clarissa?
Thank you very much for your presentation and all the work you've done. This is a vicarious topic for me. Obviously, this is my first crack at the bat of trying to make decisions moving forward for my district. I believe in the process. I believe that we should complete the process, have the public hearing. The engagement needs to be voiced, and unfortunately, we've heard, of several people against the project for personal reasons, but I was voted in to represent the district, and if I'm going to do a fair job of that, I think that we should have public engagement for the people of the district to have a concerned voice of what they want for their community. Development is scary. People don't like to hear the word development. People don't like hearing the word rezoning. I'm finding this out in my first year of tender. But I want the residents of District 2 to be active participants, in this process. And I feel the only way to do
At the hearing, they
that
will get their
is to have
opportunity.
an opportunity to hear not the namesayers, it's not a kind word, to have the pros and the cons. I'd like to make a decision on all the information, and I'd like to have an end result. So I'd like to start at this process and move right through the process that's available to us, so we all can make the right decision. Thank you.
Okay, Andre?
No, I agree. We have to get into the public hearing. I think we have a lot of the information, technical information. The only piece of information that is absent at this point is a balanced account of the community's feeling on this topic. So I think that we have to move forward. I would move that we move forward with the public hearing, and let's hear everybody out, and then we'll have to make our decision after that.
I'll second that motion.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried.
Would you like to set a public hearing date? Would you like to set a public hearing date?
Oh, yeah, well, set one, yeah.
So you could do it as soon as the 25th. I think it maybe depends on if you want it before council, if you want it at a different venue.
Yeah, do you want an evening session?
I think we should do an
One
evening
early
session to make it
evening
available to
session.
people, yeah.
So you could do it the evening of February 25th, which is a Wednesday evening. If that works.
At this moment in time, it works.
I think we have counselors away at
Yeah,
that
who,
time. I think
who's around?
Be away at that point. I just want that on the
You would be away, and Counselor Coolin, you would be here.
100%, yes.
Well, that's important.
Yes.
It's an unknown.
Oh, if she doesn't know, yeah, well, we'll see there. We got some issues to try to deal with. Yeah, I think we want to. We want people here. I mean, this is one of these issues that's,
I gotta go down here on the weekend.
Yeah.
well, I don't think delaying it all that, nobody's doing any work this time of year.
If council's okay, instead of trying to figure it out, we could.
You
if
try to figure it out and send us something that tells us when
Yeah,
when
if
it's
that's
gonna-
okay with council?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Just have to make sure a venue is available.
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
Are we going to the Lions Club?
Yeah, we'll do this one in the community. I think that's our standard practice has been to
Yeah.
do these larger ones in the community and do it in the evening.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Counselor Coolin has her.
Oh, Councillor Coolin, sorry.
Just a matter of 3 weeks from now, I think that there should be more awareness, and I think if we delay and allow more people to know about through
Just only
communication,
helps, yeah.
right? I think later is better, you know,
Yeah.
like March even, like, you know, I don't know if the developer would be in tune for
Well,
that. But we need to,
it's up
we
to
all
us,
should
not
be
him.
present.
Yeah, we have.
We all should be present. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, I believe we're on to our 9:45 appointment, which is the Chester Brass Band. Didn't bring any instruments.
Good morning.
I thought you were gonna play a little music for us.
We're the singers.
Oh, you're the singer. Okay.
We're gonna bring our trombones, but we decided not to. Might be too much for them.
We'll go with that.
morning.
Abdullah can play the drums on his desk there.
I'm the percussionist, so I can,
Oh, you can do that too?
but it would really mess up the sound system.
Well, good morning, and thank you
Morning.
for having us at your meeting for a few minutes to talk about Chester Brass Band. With me is Evelyn Ernst, a longtime member of our band and a former band member, and Treasurer David Friendly. So I'll lead off with a few remarks, and they'll continue on, and then we'll have some questions and answers and discussion, if you like.
Okay.
I'm speaking to most of you for the first time, but there's three around the table I have some connections to, so I'll admit to those. I'm related to all the Coolins in Chester, in Fox Point, so hi, you see. Nice to see you again. Tom was a member of the band, and your dad. Good morning, Tom. And I think the last time you and I were talking was in bathing suits on Fox Point Beach. A little different from what we're facing today, yeah. And Abdullah, good morning. You remember from your childhood that the backyard neighbors were Barney and Millie Maringer? And their daughter Yvonne, who's my wife.
Oh, for goodness.
So there we go.
That's going back.
Is it
That's
small
going
or-
back a ways, yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, good. Thank you for your support over the past several years, Council. Our Chester Brass partnership with you has enabled Chester Brass Band to play a strong role in the community. We are most appreciative of the annual grants for the summer bandstand concerts, which are now over a 26-year period, 25 or quarter-century tradition. And we're also grateful for the recent funding of the renewal of our band building the past few years. Chester Brass Band Society is one of the key charitable volunteer organizations that plays a significant role in enhancing the quality of life for Chester and area residents and visitors. Chester Brass was established in 1873 and continues to serve citizens and families. With your continued support, we will continue for another 153 years.
Yeah.
We help bring communities, the municipalities' art and cultural strategy and priorities to life. We build cultural leadership by providing musicians of all ages a socially and mentally stimulating year-round program and providing concerts throughout the municipality, often in collaboration with community organizations such as the Legion, local churches, Bonnie Lee Farm, etc. In addition, Chester Brass provides space for community activities in the band building located in Church Memorial Park. The Municipal Recreation and Parks Department and community organizations use our building at a nominal hourly rate. Chester Brass now must restructure its finances to be fiscally viable for the future. Charitable donations currently account for over 60% of our income annually, and this is no longer sustainable. A single donor has contributed $10,000 annually, and when that support ceases, which could be any time, Chester Brass Band will be in dire circumstances. It's imperative that regular, recurring income be significantly increased, and we need council's help, please. We're requesting council to add Chester Brass Band to its annual budgeted grant program beginning in the coming fiscal year with a grant of $15,000. Every year, we have to apply to you for funding for our summer bandstand concerts. Last year was $2,200, thank you. Every year, we have to hope to raise about $13,000 to pay our bills for the year, and it's always sweating it out at the last minute to December 31st, our fiscal year end. So an annual budgeted grant will help provide the fiscal certainty we so badly lack at the moment. Quite a number of years ago, friends of the late Gregor Fraser made donations to Chester Brass to establish an investment fund in order to provide some annual income to us. George Bryson, the late George Bryson, bequeathed another $25,000, and it's now our goal to continue to grow that investment portfolio to double our income of $5,000 a year to $10,000. You'll have noticed in the submission we made that our investment totals for 2024 were $66,426. As a charitable organization, we are dedicated to performing for audiences without exclusionary pricing. So we ask audience members for free will offerings, and this will continue. We, however, must reduce the uncertainty and the reliance on donations and free will offerings in order to become and stay fiscally viable in the future. To achieve this, the annual budget grant is critically important to us. So we'd appreciate your consideration. David, do you have comments to make about the budget?
Oh, Tom, you had a question or some comments first?
Thank you, Warden Weber. To the presenters, thank you. It's an important part to our history, to our community, and much more beyond, because just to clarify, there are members that travel many hours to get here to participate in the Chester Brass Band that has gone through various stages and changes over its history. I personally attend Sunday night concerts, and I'm estimating between 75 and 100 people roughly collect in the area. It's spread out quite a bit. It's quite an enjoyable thing. It's nice to hear people that come from Bridgewater, they come from Hubbards, they come from all over to enjoy those. Many of them actually pick up a picnic kind of lunch and eat their evening meal there. And it's been very good. And in the summertime with the setting and the area energy, it is a wonderful opportunity to hear it throughout the community because the sound travels and people get excited. And it's been a long history and a long part. So I definitely think our culture, there are many cultural organizations in our community. This is amongst the high ones, and we need to make sure that we look at their history to continue. So thank you very much.
Andre?
I'm not sure if you've been following municipal politics that closely, but in recent years, council has had a strengthened commitment to arts support, and not just with words, but with financial support. You know, I think there's a recognition at this council that arts make our community a more vibrant place. So, you know, you're not going to get a decision today, obviously, but, you know, I'm looking forward to this debate when budget time, because this is part of this whole strategy and effort that we've been putting forward in the last few years to try to protect and preserve what makes this municipality a kind of a special place.
Yeah. Tina?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm thinking back on some of the recent decisions that we've made in terms of introducing organizations to our budgeted grant line items, if you will. And I'm just taking a look at your budget. Actually, it's up on the screen, so I'm glad. So I just have a couple of questions. Can you tell me again how the interest amount equates in terms of the 3,900, for example, this past fiscal year, the most fiscal year previous? You know, so you had some money invested, tucked away, which is important. So what would that figure be? So just so I know, because I know that we look at financial statements of all the
All the
organizations that come in.
need,
Yeah,
How much is,
Yeah,
how
so-
much we have in the investment fund now?
Correct.
I'll look that up,
Okay.
because I brought last year's.
okay, and you know what, it can be part of our budget deliberation when we do our budgeted grant discussion.
All of the investment funds are in higher dividend stocks
As it should be, yeah?
that are now paying us between 3.5% and 9%.
Excellent.
The number that you see up there for 2024 has been significantly increased because of donations that we received over the last year. So we're now, our budget for 2026 is $5,000 income from that. And as Payson mentioned, our goal is to eventually grow it so we have $10,000 a year revenue from that. I just want to point out one number there that might look a little weird if you compare it to Payson's comments about donations. Under the CRA regulations, we're allowed to subsidize all of our band members are volunteer, except for our director gets an honorarium, but nowhere close to what you would pay a full-time director.
Of course, yeah,
So that just helps him a little bit. The rest, everybody else is volunteer.
of course.
So what we're allowed to do under CRA regulations is cover certain costs. The easiest ones to cover and the only ones we cover are transportation.
Travel, yeah.
Gas.
So they get a travel allowance based on kilometers traveled, and everybody charts their own individual. It all comes through me as treasurer. I have
Yeah.
to verify them all. And they all donate that back. So the number that you see up there amounts to 100% of the travel expenses we pay are donated back to the band. So this year it was something in the order of $50,000 or $55,000.
They give back.
That's under, I don't know if you run into this or not with your own expenses, but CRA has a mechanism to do this. So we used to exchange checks, and it's like a pain. CRA has a mechanism, you can do it now where it's all done through paperwork.
Sure, yeah.
So people, just touch base to prove David's point. If you look at the bottom line, your travel,
Yeah,
43,000, what's that, 664? Then that's also in the donations.
right, okay,
This year it was a bit higher than that, but
yeah.
this past year.
So, yes.
Does that
Tina,
answer?
yeah, keep
Sorry,
going.
thank you. So just getting back to, not the travel, because I do have some questions about that. Did you just say that you're hoping to build that interest and dividends revenue line to $10,000?
Yes.
We're hoping to.
Oh, you're hoping
and
to. I know.
that's-
They're hoping
that's
to build
the
it.
goal. The thing, one of the realities we're facing is that the people who supported Chester, who were residents of Chester in past generations, and it really is a generational thing.
Sure, yeah,
Have largely moved away
Yeah.
or passed away.
yeah, no, I get
And the current generation aren't in that same mindset.
No, no.
We've also lost our two biggest fundraisers, Gregor and Rod, who had all these connections and were
Yeah.
able to do this.
Yeah.
Most of our band members don't even live in Chester anymore, or in the area. I'm from Lunenburg. Donnie Wirch lives just outside of town. So the reality for us going forward is we won't be able to rely as much on local donations to sustain us.
Yeah,
In the next few years, we have to focus on the people who have donated to us in the past in terms of getting the investment amount up, which means that our operational, donations for operational purposes won't be as high. We'll have to rely on much smaller donations and on the collections we get at our concerts.
right on, very good. So zeroing in then on the travel piece, so you clarified that. So that's really, it's not an expense because it's an in and out, is what you're
That's
saying.
right, that's
It's not
correct.
a cash, it's
Okay.
not a cash.
So just, again, I'm just trying to get, in all fairness, I'm trying to get my head around Again, other very important organizations that are doing very important work throughout our municipality. Chester Arts Center, I'm thinking as an example. Absolutely, I got behind that previous to them coming in, and when they were here, I supported it at every discussion. And I will continue to do that with all organizations that come in and present, and I see the walkthrough of your financial ask, your financial need, and the impact. So I'm just trying to, again, get ahead of when we're doing our budget deliberation, and hopefully I will be at the table when we do budget deliberation, with other organizations.
Yeah,
And
everybody's competing.
when I, you know, kind of cut out some of the extras and I look at what their total budgets are, their revenues and their expenses, absolutely. I'm not questioning the importance of culture, arts and culture, the social importance, and as well, Tom had mentioned others coming, Councillor Bremner had mentioned visitors to your concerts from Bridgewater and away. So it's an economic driver, I see that. I would be wrong if I didn't say that you're an economic driver, because we see people that would come into these events buying gas, food,
Yeah,
staying longer.
exactly.
And that's important, I get that.
Yeah.
But again, I need to look at all of our budgeted grant applications and where we stand and their budgets and the revenues and
Thank you.
expenses. That's all.
Yep,
Some
thank
of,
you.
some of the opportunity here is non-financial as well. Evelyn, as you know, has been a member of the band forever, and she has taken a specific interest in the youth. As you know, the provinces all across Canada have been cutting back on music programs in schools, which is a horrible travesty considering the impact of music on brain development. And I mean, that's proven the stuff. It's not just what band members say. There are some downsides. I've sort of lost my hearing because I play music all the way. But Evelyn is leading a program at the middle school where she's working with, and this is again all voluntary, where she's working with the kids on a regular basis. And once a year on National Band Day or whatever it's called, we do a workshop with them, and then they come and they play with us, so they can get a taste of what it will be like when they're. And we've had teenagers in our band. We had one year we had this cornet player who was 13, and he stayed with us right until he graduated high school, and it helped him develop emotionally as well because he was a bit of a firecracker at the beginning, and you know, so you see these changes. They're not, you can't monetize them. And of course the support for the Legion and those kinds of things just can't be monetized. But on the monetized side, one of the problems we have every year in the process that we have to follow to apply for the funding in the summer is we don't find out about that till May or June. And we have to commit to the bands that we bring in, because we bring in bands, as you know, from Halifax, from Bridgewater, any band that we can find, because there aren't that many available anymore that are close enough. We give them a $200 payment in order to help pay for transportation, because often they have to rent a truck and so on. Not knowing whether, we have to actually write to them and say, if you want to play with us this summer, we're hoping to pay you $200, but we won't know until we get the grant. If we don't get the grant, you're playing for free. And they've all written back saying, that's okay, we will. So it's part of this is operational as well, that if we know we're in the annual budget, then we don't have to apply every year. We know that if the budget is passed, we can commit to the bands.
Okay, any other questions? Because we need, oh, sorry, Della?
I think
Oh, sorry.
Thank you for comment. I think it was crucial that you explained the line item for travel, because I did, that number jumped right out at me, you know, $43,600, and the fact that it's in kind back to the program is great, but does it give a false statement of your income statement being in that line item? Like, does it, is
We're
this?
not sure where to put it otherwise, because we have to report to the federal government every year what our actuals.
Well, verbalizing it, you did,
And
makes
we
it,
can't-
makes
But we
sense.
can't give donation receipts unless we claim
Correct.
the income.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I understand it completely, and I think it's a wonderful thing that, you know, that they donate it back, but I'm glad you clarified that, because it makes this income statement look more feasible to me, you know,
good.
thank you, yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Della?
Yeah, I appreciate, I'd just like to ask Chad, and I appreciate you want to know, you want a line item, and you know what your budget's going to be if you have a, so this organization's available for grants as well, through our grant program, correct?
Correct, and
We
they have
have
received
to.
grants from us. in the
Okay,
past.
yeah. It just said, speaking on what Tina had to say, and these organizations are all do valuable stuff. So it's hard sometimes to justify putting something in as a line item, and then
Why didn't you do it for me?
New Ross, whatever center comes in, and, you know, so, to me, we just gotta be careful what we, you know, and those are what budget deliberations are for. Yep, thank you, Chad, that's,
Okay, if there aren't any other questions, our next appointment's here. We're running
Okay.
late, as
great,
always.
thank you.
And, yeah, so I assume that this will simply get forwarded to the budget process, and then we'll make a decision and
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
see where we are in all that
In
world.
the meantime, we'll be writing double bands in the next few weeks.
Oh, no problem. Take care. Thanks. We'll do well. If we got an appointment, they're already here. That one won't take long, will it? Okay, we'll take a 10-minute break, then we got two. Okay, we call the meeting back to order. We're on to our 10 o'clock appointment, which is just a little late. Community Wheels.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name's Courtney, I'm the Executive Director with Community Wheels. I did bring some hard copies of the document that I sent in. If anybody wants one, just let me know. Here, I'll just pass them around. Okay, so thank you for meeting with me today. I'm here to provide a brief update on Community Wheels and to ask for an increase in our municipal funding. Our current funding is $11,500. We are requesting an increase to $15,000. This is to reflect our growth in rideship, increased operating expenses, and the essential nature of the service that we provide. So a little bit about who we are. Community Wheels provides transportation services for residents who may otherwise have no reliable options. Community Wheels also operates on a pay-what-you-can or a suggested minimum donation service, and we are the only transportation service in the province that operates on this fare structure. No rider is ever turned away due to their inability to pay. Just to outline a little bit about our growth over the years, so for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, we provided a total of 3,325 rides. So far this year, from April to December, we provided 3,131 rides. With January and March still ahead, we anticipate surpassing last year's total, and our estimated ridership for this year is around 38,000. 3,800, sorry, yes. Demand continues to grow steadily, and we are seeing more residents relying on this as an essential service rather than an occasional support. This month, we also had to relocate our office and our base operations, which has resulted in higher fixed costs such as rent, fuel, utilities, and parking and storage. We've also experienced fleet growth over the years and team growth. And because of the way that we operate, the pay-what-you-can model is not designed to cover our operating expenses, and increasing fares would undermine our accessibility for riders. So the municipal funding is essential and helps us deliver thousands of rides annually at a very low cost to the public. So the reason we are requesting this is that it reflects our increased operating expenses following our location. It helps support our growing fleet, growing team, and our ride volume, and helps us sustain the service without compromising accessibility to our riders. And just to touch on our alignment with municipal priorities, Community Wheels supports municipal goals related to seniors and aging in place, accessibility and inclusion, rural transportation challenges, and community health and well-being. And your investment helps ensure that residents can remain independent and in their communities, have fewer barriers accessing healthcare and essential services, and creating a stronger and more connected community. So thank you for your time. That's my presentation to you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have as well. Yeah, we have steady increase year after year in rideship. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
Great to see you again. Great to hear about Community Wheels again here at this table. So the 11.5, did you say it was 11? I should know this.
Yes.
It's 11.5.
11.5.
Would you happen to know when we made that change? I think, I remember a presentation by Community Wheels and we increased it from 10 to 11.5. Is that right?
Yes.
So that was a few years ago.
It was
at
a few
least.
years back.
Yeah, so it was
Yeah.
a few years ago now. Also, too, is part of our deliberation around budgeted grants, will we, and I'm gonna look to Chad as well for this, will we receive written documentation, Chad, around their budget and so on? Outside of what Courtney has mentioned here?
Yes, we
Okay.
request a letter for any of the
Okay.
increases.
Any of those increases in funding and kind of why we would consider an increase, and you've already, you verbalized it, right, obviously. Increased operating expenses, and you identified the reasons around that this past year.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, and I say the essential nature of the service. I do agree with that we're now looking at this as essential.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. I agree with you. You mentioned you had to move from where to where. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so we were located in the South Shore Work Activity Program since we've opened in 2007.
Yeah.
So we did have to move just this month. We're now located in Hubbard's at the Aspatagan Heritage Trust.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we had an agreement with our previous landlords that we didn't have any rent costs there. There was no cost to park our fleet there. So now we are paying for rent, and we are also renting a parking lot to park our fleet in. So that has resulted in a significant increase to our operating expenses.
Yeah, not only that, you were sort of centrally located out at Windsor Road, and now
Yeah.
you're on the
Now we're
end
on
of the
the-
municipality, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
see that, yeah.
we are hoping not to stay where we are
Okay, so you're
long-term.
not committed to a long-term
No.
lease or anything?
The ideal is to come more centrally located again. We really enjoyed being mid-municipality. It's a lot easier for our service.
Well, I
So-
think, you know, municipality-wise, that's something we should actually look at for you
Yeah.
as well. We have a
Yeah.
lot, you know, we have properties, and we've got stuff, so.
Yeah, we've been in
yeah.
search, but unfortunately, the commercial spaces that we did find available in the area were much out of our budget. So we are still looking, and the goal is to come back more
Well,
mid-municipality.
I think hopefully we can help as a municipality, and take your expenses way down.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
What do you need for office space?
We just need an office that's big enough for 2 desks and a few filing cabinets. It's just myself that works in the office, usually 3 days a week, and our dispatcher 1 day a week. We've already found office space over with the Chester Service Center. They've offered for us to rent one of their lots. So our fleet is still very nearby, but for office space, we just kind of need a room that's big enough for 2 desks and a few filing cabinets.
If I may, you know, we just purchased a building. I'm not sure, pardon me, well, just, doesn't hurt to ask, but yeah,
We can talk
Absolutely.
to staff and see if we can come up with any
yeah,
options.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No,
Oh, sorry about that. I'm just going to, springboard off of Councillor Asof's comments there, specifically around now the parking that you're paying for. So we are maxed out at the new building we're talking the Windsor Road. Do we have, I'm not sure how much space you would need for your fleet.
We have 6 fleet vehicles right now with the assumption that we're going to be obtaining a 7th in the spring.
Wonderful, that's great news, I'm glad.
Yes.
To hear that. But I guess I'm trying to visualize how much space we have. I've only been up to the building once, so I took a turn around in the parking lot there. But we have other acreage there, right? We have other acreage with that building?
We're gonna take a look.
Good, excellent, very good.
All right.
Tina beat me to my question or my concern. Your money's, is more, nothing to do with an office space. You need opportunity to have your fleet parked, and that's the expense that you're probably referring to.
We are paying rent now at our new office location as well, and we weren't in the past, but we are also paying for parking now
Yes.
as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, Tina,
Yes, that would be helpful for
Tina,
sure.
I had the same thought. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll take a look at that and see if we can find some options.
Okay, awesome.
Great,
Thank you guys so much.
It's part of the budget process.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're gonna try it. Okay. Chester Commons Road, 10.4.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
Today, I'm here to talk to you about a request for decision that's in your package for the Chester Commons Road sidewalk. So that is a sidewalk from the intersection of Highway 3 up the old Trunk 3 to the Chester Commons Road. So just so it doesn't get confused that we're actually putting a sidewalk on Chester Commons Road. Our recommendation is that council remove this project from the 25-26 capital investment program. During the design of this project, we proposed a certain design to the province. Their final answers came back in December requesting a 5-meter road right-of-way or road width from the center line to the front of curb, which would push our sidewalk completely over the property lines for the whole length of that project. So that is not really feasible at this point. We would require an easement from every property owner along that stretch. We already know that there's some opinions on whether or not this sidewalk should even be in place. We did look at the other side. There's no room on the other side with the property line or with drainage to move it to the other side of the road either. So where it stands right now, without expropriation, and with that 5 width, I don't think we can put it in the project for this year, but we should keep it in mind for in case anything changes in future years.
Okay, Andre?
Who are we dealing with at the province?
The applications go to the local area, but they come from Halifax. Everything's from the planners, and I don't know.
What individual
I don't know.
gave this correspondence to us? There's somebody
This
signed their name
correspondence?
on the bottom that said 5 meters was the requirement.
This came from the senior development officer in the Queens detachment, yes.
So, there's no statutory basis for a 5 meter requirement from the center line to the curb.
Correct.
There's nothing, there's no written policy that requires this. This is a bureaucratic decision of somebody. So when you have a road that requires a 5 meter distance between the center line and the curb, it actually encourages speeding. You have a very, very wide road and it invites people to drive their cars very fast, actually. There's a negative impact on many roads when we insist on this. Because there's no statutory basis for this requirement, you know, it will become a problem as we look at all of our roads. Anything that's a low-speed tributary street, we're going to be confronted with the same problem. You know, urbanized, constrained corridors routinely have like reduced offsets applied. This is not new for us that we've asked. They've been confronted with this problem many times and there have been many approvals. You know, fortunately in our last sidewalk, we were on Highway 3, very wide, big shoulders, no problem. But every single one that we want to do going forward is going to be confronted with this problem. You know, I think that I'm really angry about this. It took a long time for this council to come around and get the budget in place and the agreement that we were going to proceed. This has been a long-standing issue for those in the community that use this as a thoroughfare to walk from farther down Old Trunk 3 into the village. You know, I think we need to write the minister and our MLA and explain that this is going to be a big problem. The demands of this department are unrealistic and are going to have, if this is going to be their policy position, it's going to be a problem going forward for every single proposal that we undertake for a new sidewalk. I think that right now the proposal, as you've outlined in your report, suggests like a I think it was a 1.5 meter grass median between the sidewalk.
We had shrunk it down to a 1 meter.
1 meter.
And there's one section where there's a stone retaining wall where we had no median.
Right.
They did not accept that at all. We would have to put a median there, so we'd have to deconstruct that stone wall and move it
Yeah.
back.
So this is the problem with this this offset requirement. It's pushing us into people's properties, and that's the basis of this report. I don't know if they looked at mountable curbs as an option.
It's not the curb itself, it's the distance from the center line to the
So
curb.
it
with
doesn't
the
even
bike
matter.
lane, it
They don't
doesn't
care. They
matter.
don't want anything.
They don't.
And that's, you know, I think that that's unacceptable and unrealistic when we're dealing with old tributary roads that are never, ever going to be able to achieve that.
No.
So I want them in front of us And whoever is the decision maker, I want them sitting right where you're sitting, so I can have a little chat with them on behalf of the people that elected me, because this is complete crap.
This has been an issue throughout my career on older roads, 100-year-old roads, that this particular design
Yeah.
doesn't always work, and their answer is expropriation.
Yeah, well, it's expropriating one property, okay. You know, you're always gonna have the odd one that you gotta do something, maybe you need to do a, you know, a small, because you have maybe some stormwater, maybe you gotta do a little infiltration trench or something like that. You know, oftentimes, it doesn't even really hugely impact the property, like if you do a trench or something like that, it ends up getting grassed up afterwards and it doesn't really look like anything. There's some infrastructure there, but it really doesn't impact people. But expropriating every single property all the way up that road, that's absurd, come on. And this is bureaucracy beyond, from people that have never really done any work. So, well, let's get some people who have actually done some work and understand what the requirements are when we're dealing with these old roads and get them out here. Because this is bizarre, it just blows me away. This is crap.
Okay, Tom?
Thank you, Warden Weber. To our presenter, I echo what Councilor Reno says. This is frustrating. This is my district, and thank you, Councilor Reno, for your support and understanding. I have had far more people want to have a sidewalk in that area for walking. It's a very populated walking area. I have people against it, I understand that, but far more that want to see something progress. Those people in that area feel they've been neglected, and I do not want to go back and tell them this. This is both a knockout to me and very hurting to their growth of their area that's needed some changes and improvements. I truly agree. We had visitation here by high-end provincial people. They need to know this. This is not something, in my opinion,
Come
that,
up at our meeting.
no, I don't know who would make this statement when there's not a policy or anything to support it. It's just someone making a decision. It doesn't add up to me. Yes, speed is a concern. I understand that. We need to make sure it's going to be safe. In my opinion, there's only a few, maybe only one road in the village that would actually, or District 3, that would qualify for a sidewalk, and that just doesn't make sense to me. We're getting cries all the time for more safe walking areas and more improvements to the roads. I agree, we need someone here to work with us, to understand it, and to make a decision that we don't have to expropriate land, because that is ridiculous from one end to the other, and this is needed.
Well, all we can do is invite them to come in, that's all we can do. But it's gonna take time no matter what we do. Abdallah, you're next.
Yeah, that was actually one of my questions, like, what the province is requiring us to do. So that, basically, you have to expropriate everybody's property, or a good portion
A
of them?
good portion.
Wow.
Anytime we go over the property line, we either have to have an agreement, an easement. I know there's most likely 3 properties I will not get a easement off the
Okay,
bat from.
yeah.
I will have to expropriate those. Others may give me the easement.
Expropriation is not a road I want to get down.
It
Not if
will
you can
not be a
help.
fun trip.
Thank you.
Well, not on a continuous basis, too.
Councillor
Connors?
Thank you. I'm just going to focus on the options for consideration paragraph there, and it says staff are working on an update to the active transportation strategy, which would include future sidewalks and/or pathways. So I'm wondering, it was going to be for my notes later on after this meeting, not to bring it up here, because I'm interested in that. I'm wondering on the status and where we are, but I think that there's a bit of a hook there too, like there's, again, if we're, hurrying up our active AT strategy and talking about this and building that in there, talking about the community engagement, the community need, the gaps and so on, that's only another part of kind of evidence-based decision-making and evidence-based push to the province, if you will. So I'm gonna ask a question now, is that something that it says we're working on an update, but where might we be with that? I know that's not for you, but it's probably for Chad.
Yeah, so it is on the list.
Yeah, I know, the list, I know.
Along with 1,000 other.
So it's in progress, it wouldn't be in the coming weeks for sure.
No,
but,
no.
But for the upcoming fiscal year.
Yeah.
It's definitely on the
Yeah.
agenda to revisit some of our, for example, our ICIP project, where
Yep.
a lot of our sidewalks projects started. So to go back and review what
Sure, yeah, yeah. And again, I only bring that up because, again, I do believe that, you know, reports and linking it back to strategies doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt, and it actually, I believe it helps. So like, a lot of people don't think, oh yeah, documents sitting on the shelf or more studies, but I believe in that process, and I believe that if we could link some of these things back, and I know we are, but just to really ram it, you know, push it home, right? But that's, yeah, thanks.
Andre?
Sorry.
Okay, so, I'm not in favor of removing this up from the budget at this point. You know, we can defer it a little bit, but I think we need to have some more consultation with people at a higher level. Because, you know, sat down here with transportation talking about problematic areas such as Pig Loop Road that are hazardous. People risk their lives to walk down, and then if they're gonna come back when a proposal finally comes forward and say, we gotta go 5 meters back from the center line, we'll be in it'll be impossible, we'll be in the houses. So if you're unwilling to compromise on some sort of internal policy that isn't even a written prescriptive policy, how are we ever gonna be able to solve these problems? You know, I was confronted with the same kind of thinking back years ago when we tried to have a little parking area in Deep Cove, because it's a popular fishing area. We wanted to find a way to get the cars off the highway. And because we couldn't meet all of their requirements for some sort of parking setup, even though it would have been orders of magnitude, any person could evaluate the proposal and see that it would be more, a much more safer option. It didn't meet exactly the criteria that they needed, then they kiboshed it, so we'll just continue to do something that is completely unsafe. These kind of bureaucratic decisions would rather see people walk down the center of the road risking their lives than get off the road on a sidewalk that doesn't exactly meet their criteria. And it's nonsense, and this is exactly why people hate the government. And so, you know, let's get them in here, get somebody in here that's got some common sense, and let's deal with it. And I want to be part of that meeting.
Okay, let's bring him into a policy and strategy session.
We can make the request.
Get
We've also.
a little flesh in here. He's a shaker.
We can make the request to have somebody come and speak to council about it. My understanding is there's also been a couple of developers that have ran into similar requests from Public Works, and whether they are or aren't supported by policy, they don't appear to be, but we may not have all of the policy documents that they're referring to as well. So we can ask them to come in and have a discussion.
Well, I mean, that's, you gotta start somewhere.
We've spent years talking about Pig Loop Road. And so you explain to me, these people that have been part of that discussion, how we're gonna implement anything there if we're gonna have to be required to be bound to these kind of rules. It's impossible.
Well.
So we've wasted all our time and all our money for nothing.
We also just received this month actually, they were passed in December, the traffic calming standards. And so we could look at potentially doing some traffic calming here, and if this could be incorporated into a project like that. So it's another discussion we could have. So there might be options that we can have that
Yes.
would allow us to continue, but I think we need.
The request is
It's all
basically
gonna
to
take
remove
time.
it from this year,
Yeah.
just because it's the end of the capital year. We have the design 90% done. We can bring them in and discuss it, but we're just asking for now to remove it from this year. We can bring it
You only
back.
have like a month and a half.
Yeah, I think.
We can bring it
Yeah,
back.
there's
It's
no
gas
point.
I don't
tax
think you're gonna make it.
I
even
think
if
we
there
would
was no
just
barrier.
look for direction from council or an understanding from council that we're not proceeding with that project this
Oh,
year, and
obviously
that
we're not.
we'll proceed with trying to find ways to do the
Well, if our
project.
discussion goes well with highways, then we can add it to next year's, but obviously you're not gonna get it done now. So a motion to remove it and,
We're deferring it to
Defer,
next year, but
yeah.
there's no way, I'll die on this hill.
hey, Tom?
Thank you, Warden Weber. I'll make that motion that we just defer. We don't take it off the table, because I don't believe in that myself.
Oh, no, just it isn't
But
gonna
I
happen.
want answers also. This is frustrating, it's handcuffing, and it doesn't make any sense to me, so thank you.
Okay. So there's a motion to defer and
Need a
invite
second.
Parton the highways in.
You need a second, I don't.
I know I need a seconder. Seconded, discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion's carried.
And let's make it clear, we don't want just the same bureaucrats, they already say no. We want somebody that can take some action.
Somebody who can do something, yeah?
Thank you, Council.
Should we have the MLA as well?
Oh, absolutely.
We can invite her. We can invite her. Okay, 10.5. Arts and Culture Strategy Grant Proposal, Corporate Strategic Management. Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning. So,
Morning.
Based on council's feedback at the policy and strategy session on December 4th, those changes have been incorporated into the grant proposal. They're reflected in the motions there on the first page for you. So to increase the scope of our youth sponsorship grant to include arts and culture activities and increase the age to 25 to incorporate more of our post-secondary students. That council approved the name change for the Recreation and Parks grants to the Recreation and Culture grants. The council approves increasing the scope of the leadership training grant to include some administration and activities such as that. And that council approves the addition of the EDI statements to all grant and sponsorship program guidelines that follows what is currently used in our job description. And finally, that council basically, again, in line with budget discussions, all the new grants will then be brought to you at budget time for final approval of the budget line for those.
Yeah. Well, that's what we asked you to do.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we.
Are we fine?
So, and then at budget, you could direct, we could bring some various options for you to consider.
So you see?
Councilor Bremner.
Oh, Councilor Bremer.
Thank you, Warden Weber. I believe this falls very nicely in line with what we've been dealing with in many ways this morning. And it brings us to a place that we have some process and some structure. And yeah, I like this. I think this is the way to go, and debates are going to happen for budget, so thank you.
So we need a motion to approve those recommendations.
Sorry, is it option 1 that you're looking for? Just for clarity.
Well, I just see
I would-
recommended motions here, and it's,
Sorry, yep. So there was just two options there that we were talking about for the new
Okay.
grants, and one would be to add an additional, I think it was $50,000 to the grant budget as part of budget discussions, and the other option is to not increase the overall grant budget, but to direct staff to come back to the budget discussions that would incorporate these new grants into the existing amount. But I think what I'm understanding is you're looking to add the additional $50,000, the new grants as an additional budget item.
Oh, perfect.
I just want to make sure.
so that's
so.
what's moved. Seconded, moved and seconded. Discussion. Tina.
So just for clarification, because I wasn't here on December 4th, and I'm loving all this, by the way. Loving all this. Thanks to council. Around the multi-year operating grant. So I see we're looking at increasing the annual maximum. I'm not saying we're going to get to the maximum, from 3 to 5. And I'm trying to remember how many 3s we actually did. Because we always had a lot more in requests than we had in money to spend sometimes. So I'm thinking of my annual multi-year, always ongoing festivals and events. So it's quite interesting, to go from 3 to 5.
Well, our main criteria for that one is the successful completion of a one-year operating grant
Yeah, I see
and
this.
all the reporting.
Yeah.
And increasing it to 5, as you heard this morning, is just more fiscal sustainability for the
Oh,
organization.
absolutely, no,
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering, 50,000, to be honest, isn't gonna go far. When we look at all of these suite of programs, and I know that we're gonna get into budget, and we'll be getting into.
Well, 50,000 is an example. I
Oh,
could
yeah.
bring back a few.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I get that. Applications for multi-year grants will be accepted after successful completion of an annual operating grant. But again, we have a good number of annual festivals and events throughout the entire municipality. So this is exciting, but I'm also thinking fiscally, the money part of it, right? So, yeah.
right.
So as soon as I
Budget
leave here
comes
today,
in.
I'm gonna go back into my documents and see how many $3,000 we actually approved last year for festivals and events and other operating, yeah. But no, I'm in support. I just wanted some, I'm just a little concerned about that, I guess. Okay.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now I am at 11.1, Philip Romkey, request for Edmund and Kay Keddy.
Romney.
Romney, oh, yeah.
So council, this is a request that came in from Mr. Romney on behalf of his clients, Edmund and Catherine Keddy. And so this is a long standing issue that has been in front of council since at least the mid-90s, on and off. And so the request wasn't put in front of council before this because we were dealing with some outstanding dangerous and unsightly premises issues that we asked to be resolved before we brought the request forward to council, and those have been resolved. So the request is in front of you now, and we're looking for some direction. My recommendation would be that you get a staff report because it does have a long history and not all of the council members are familiar with it. But if
Makes
you're
sense.
still willing to have that discussion, you would probably need a staff report for that.
Straight ahead, yeah, makes sense. Okay, anybody have a problem getting a staff report? Okay. Okay. We've already dealt with the petition sim settlement. District grants.
Sorry.
What?
Building code.
Oh, building code.
Yeah.
Where did I?
11.2.
Oh, okay, sort of.
This one's easy. 11.2 is for information. There were some changes recently to the building code, and it's just to receive that for
There's not a
information.
damn thing you
Sorry.
can do
Yeah.
about it. Okay, 12.1, district grants. Anybody want anything separated out of there? No, well, you might not have to go through too far.
They all meet the requirements.
Thumbs up when you check. How will we approve the grants as submitted, the district grants?
Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Okay, thank you, Chad.
Welcome.
Just trying to make some things as easy as possible.
The next one will be equally as easy, I believe.
Okay, I think that I'm on to 12.2, designated community fund grant review, community development. Grant requests, okay, Chester Yacht Club.
Yeah, so this is one that you've seen across your desk a few times in
More
the past,
times than once,
as the yacht club has been working on their wharf projects. They're looking for their, probably what most likely would be their last request for funding as it relates to that project.
Yeah, Tom, you want to speak?
Warden Weber, question, maybe to our solicitor. Does this organization qualify for this under the way it's structured? Is this a private club or?
It,
Yes, I believe it does.
It does?
it does, yes, and we have been working with the yacht club through this grant
Okay,
in years
I
past
just wanted
as
to
well.
make sure I was clear on where
Yeah.
where with that.
Well,
Thank you.
It's a pretty important thing to us. So, is this out of this year's budget or next year's budget?
So, yeah.
So this is the designated community fund.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is where they
Oh, yeah.
receive, we receive donations on their behalf, we put them into.
Oh, we're
the-
just giving the money back?
Yep.
Oh, well, somebody move, we give it back to them?
Sorry, you had Councillor Bremner first.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Councillor.
Do you have a question?
Oh, I was just saying, I'm just wondering
Why this has to come to council if it's a designated fund?
Yes, it's in our bank account.
It's required that the way, as part of the policy, is required to have council approval. 'Cause
Okay,
it's
even
a-
though we're
it's the
gonna give-
approval of grant funding, and that's
We're
the way.
going to give it to them anyway because it's designated in their money.
But it's in our bank account, so we can
Okay.
give income tax receipts.
Procedural thing, okay.
Our Director of Finance could give you more information on this, but the way the MGA is structured is that we can do this, or I'm not sure if it's the MGA or if it's the CRA requirements. We can do this, but you can't actually designate it to one community group, so the money is given to the municipality, so it's council's discretion to give it
Yes.
back to the
Yeah.
community.
That's right, and so technically, as the municipality receives, it's a donation to the municipality. The municipality could do whatever they want with the funding.
Yeah, we don't have to give it back.
Okay.
Okay.
Somebody
Thank
want to move, we give give it to him?
I will make that motion with a clarification now that I understand where my question seemed a little off because I was confused a bit. I'll make that motion that we give them back their money.
Moved and seconded, discussion. All those in favor, opposed, motion's carried. Yeah. Okay. That's it. So we're gonna take 10-minute break, then we got in camera.
Yeah, we have one item to remove from in camera.
Yeah.
So it'll just be a one item.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to go to the bathroom if that was all right, but. Okay, I'll forget it. Or I can hold off. Yeah, I do need a motion to go in camera. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Authorize me to sign this agreement unless there are changes made. Discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion's carried. A motion to adjourn. Moved and seconded, discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion's carried.